Chapter 11 Alpha Nation. I flew into the city wearing this amazing robe and was dazzled by how brightly the city was all illuminated. There were bright red, yellow, and green houses, lamps flashing both at the ground and illuminating the sky. Some of them had words, but I could not decipher them as they seemed to be in another tongue. Barreling down the streets, even the roads below me were illuminated with small lamps. Robots were walking along the streets, and I went past an area that seemed to be harvesting energy of some sort from the ground, as well as a huge factory where robots were collecting and transforming refuse. Avenue after avenue was brightly illuminated, each with its own character and full of energy, advertisement, music, and robots. I began to think maybe this is the kind of wonderful thing my mother wanted to see, the kind of thing that would give one hope. But after a while, the noise and brilliance of the city echoed hollow since there was no life anywhere I could sense. No plant life, no animals. I could not even sense the chatter of bacterium. I couldn't even hear the hum of a single blade of grass. All I heard was the sound of the city, the hum of electric, and the music from some kind of speakers bumping out an unnatural, artificial rhythm. It was vastly different than the sounds and music of the forest. Then I saw a building that said bar in the old tongue, my tongue, and I smiled. I had understood Rebecca well enough, despite her strange accent, and she promised there were people in the city somewhere, and so I was hopeful I would find people here too if I looked hard enough, and hopefully I would understand them too. From the outside, the walls were too thick to tell if there was life inside, but I had hoped that there was, and so I told the AI in my robe to slow down and stop. The robe, of course, did at the robe, of course, did as I commanded. I walked up to the door, asked the robe how to get in, and the robe, or the AI, told me, just put up your hand at the door. I laughed. But then I put up my hand to the door to open it, and the door flew open of its own accord. I started walking forward, but then I felt something, or someone, pulling me back. You shouldn't go in there, the voice said. It was Rebecca again. I smiled. So you do like me, I said. No, she said emphatically. I just thought someone should warn your stupid savage ass not to go in there. Are you trying to protect me? I asked. I thought you had your work. I'm not trying to protect you, and I do have my work, but I just felt like I needed to warn you. Now get out of here, she said. No, I said. I'm looking for answers, I said, and continued walking towards the bar. Rebecca shrugged and started walking out again. Then she turned around. I can get you anything you need. Food, water, shelter, she said. I need to find out why my mother saw hope in this place. She thought it was special, I said. Rebecca started, and I took the chance while she was distracted to walk past her to the bar. Hey, she yelled, you really aren't ready. You need a drink, a voice at the bar coming from a rectangular box said. I sure do, I said, and I took the glass he was holding and swallowed the drink in it without thinking. You are an idiot, Rebecca said, catching up to me. That drink is going to make you so sick. I smiled. I thought you didn't care about people, I said. She stared at me, grabbed something from inside her robe and shoved it in my face. Drink this, she said. And why should I trust you? I asked. She just stared at me, unblinking with those fiery red eyes. I drank it. Good, she said. Now you won't be wasted for the next 6 hours and we can get out of here. But I did not want to get out of there. Something was drawing me here for a reason, and so I walked around. It was very quiet and very dark at first, but as my eyes adjusted, I saw robots around the bar. Robots everywhere. Walking robots, robots carrying equipment, robots selling drinks. One of them passes me and asks, "What else do you need?" And I ignore them. I enter the back room, which is even darker, and then the hum of life enters my brain. Only this time it feels strange. Something is off about it. I look around, but I don't see people or animals, which is strange given the incessant chatter of life. All I see are just boxes with screens. The screens are lit up with the likenesses of humans, and it takes me a good minute to realize that the humming is coming from one of these things. I told you not to stay, Rebecca said. I suddenly feel dizzy. I stumble out of the bar, dodging another robot that asks me for my drink order. Rebecca helps me to sit down. I was trying to warn you, she said. What are they? I asked, trying to catch my breath. They're humans. Well, kinda. They've decided to put themselves into forever boxes, extend their lives and merge with technology, she said. Why? I asked. Why not? It frees you of disease, the limits of the human body, makes your brain 1,000 times faster, she said. I just looked at her. See, I knew you wouldn't understand, that you are not yet ready, she said. It's not that I don't understand, I just think it's an affront to life, to nature, I said. You're a purist, idealist. Not everyone thinks that way, she said. So are you thinking of doing this to yourself? I asked. You have to understand, Cloud. You just do not get this place yet, she said. This place is, I start to say. This place is what? She asks. We have learned to live in the desert, to survive just like you did, conquered thirst in a place people used to say was a death trap. Are you suggesting life in your Zeta Nation is better? Zebra Nation, I correct her. And yes, it is better. Why would one want to trade this body for being in a box? I asked. So you're saying if you could live forever, live disease-free, you wouldn't? She asks. Is it really a life if you do that? I ask. Maybe your mom knew about these things, about things like this, she said. My mom would not have come if she knew, I said. She believed this place was good and it is good, but the world is not perfect, Cloud, she said. Now, let's get away from this bar. What are you really looking for here? I'm not really sure anymore. My mother was trying to find out what was beyond the gate and was convinced it had some answer for her, I said. I gathered that already, Rebecca said. But let me guess, she died. Yes, I said. I didn't mean to, but I started crying. Rebecca grabbed my hand awkwardly. I thought of pulling away, but something was telling me that Rebecca was trying to help. She told me to hold tight, and almost instantly we were propelled by the fans on our robes, down one street and up another, across bridges, and then arriving in the front of a huge building. I think your mother would have wanted you to learn all that you can, Rebecca said. At your own pace, of course, away from those bars. Can I get a hug? I asked. Rebecca put her arm around me awkwardly, squeezed for a second, and pushed me forward. So what am I going to learn? I turned around and asked Rebecca. This is a world where people all live by themselves, a lot of them, or maybe most of them, in boxes. A world almost fully automated, nanobots that can perform any surgery, medicines for almost any illness imaginable, Rebecca said. My mother was very sick, I said. And maybe she hoped we had the answer. We very likely did, she said. So, what is this place you've taken me to? I asked. Our way station, she said. You can go wherever you want. I don't even know what I'm looking for, I said. Well, then maybe you can start at our library. Learn the true story of Zeta or Zebra Nation, as you call it. Maybe learn about your mother's death, she said. Thank you, I said, although one thing confuses me more than anything else. And what's that? She asked. You, I said. Why are you following me? Given everything you've told me, it doesn't make sense. Why you haven't merged with technology too? She shrugged. I just find you interesting, that's all, and as for merging with technology, I figure I've got some time before the horrors of aging start to destroy my body, and so I'm in no rush to do it. In Zebra Nation, we look at death as a way of giving back to the forest, to return all she has given us, I said. Well, this is Alpha Nation, she said. Maybe if you spend enough time here, you'll change your mind about death, about the forever boxes. People are always trying to change my mind, I said. Do you have a problem? She asked. No, I said. We walked together up the huge staircase into a large open platform of sorts. I thought you said this was a waste station, I said, but this is just an empty place with some random tubes and lights here and there. It is, she said. You stand under the tubes, the lights power it. We use instantaneous teleporting technology to take you wherever you want to go. Maybe I should go to the library, I said. Maybe you should, she said. I walked over to the platform and under the tube looked around, confused. What do? I asked. You say where you want to go and the machine disassembles and reassembles your energy and zip, we're there, she said. We? I asked. Yeah, we. I don't think you're ready to be on your own, and plus I get to study someone from Zebra Nation. It always sounded like a folk tale, like the City Eternal or the War of Ages, she said. Why did you think it was a folk tale? So you thought it was just made up to scare you into using technology? I asked. She shrugged. Wait a second, I said. You've heard about the City Eternal, too? Of course, she said. It's the city that we built after the Great Flood. We thought we could delay the apocalypse, but it turned out people aren't really good at living together. The city was doing fine until some people got too greedy and tried to build it even bigger, I said. Very interesting. We seem to have heard two different versions of what happened to the city, she said. Of course, Alpha Nation relies on facts and logic. We don't talk to animals and rely on visions. It's not a deficit, I tell her. Huh? What are you talking about? She said. Hearing whispers, having visions, it's a deeper connection to the world, I said. No, that's a delusion, an illness, she said. Oh, really? If it's an illness, then how did I see the gate that surrounds our nation despite never having visited it? How did I know that my mother was killed trying to leave Zebra Nation? I asked. Lucky guess or forgotten suppressed memories or something, she said. Our gifts are real, and the living forest is real, I said. She sighed in frustration, tapped her temporal lobe, and then breathed in a sigh of relief. Okay, I'm not interested in arguing, so let's go to the great library, she said. And in an instant, our surroundings changed. I looked up. We were standing before a huge tower. This is our main library, and also our history museum, she said. I think you'll find it interesting. It looks like the exhibit is by a young Arjuna 23C. It's called Superstition and Primitive Cultures, I said. I was afraid of what I was going to see, probably signs saying we are dumb and primitive. But I didn't let Rebecca know this. I just walked forward to a room with a recreation of a tree house and some weapons and artifacts from Zeta Sick Nation. Primitive people are easily fooled and contained by technology, the placard read. The Zeta Nation were quick to welcome me when I used a nanobot technology to build things for them. I said I was a sorceress and they believed me. I moved on to the next placard and a selection of drums and flutes. The next placard talked about how foolish the idea of whispers and seers was. I lost my interest in reading more. Rebecca saw me moping and called out. Hey, she said, these are only words. Don't let it get to you, okay? Okay, I said, but you believe what it said, right? I like you, but you are somewhat primitive, she said and tried to hug me for about 2 seconds. I pulled away. I think you should leave. If you think I am just some primitive, go. I would take you there if I could, show you Zebra Nation, but I'm banished, I said. I'm sorry, she said flatly, but she did not go anywhere. Why aren't you leaving? I asked. Because I believe I can change my story, my beliefs. I'm sorry if I called you primitive, but I'm willing to change if I can see that it is real, she said. I can show you that it's real, I said. She looked at me incredulously. When is the last time you saw your family? I asked. She laughed, but I could tell she was uncomfortable. Is this some kind of trick you're playing? She asked. No, I said. Then I concentrated. I looked into her mind. I saw a scared little girl. I saw her alone at a young age. an old man apologizing that he was being forced to leave.